All right, hello everyone. It's teacher Stephanie in here, and as requested, I'm going to explain regarding original oratory system, be it the introduction and also the system, like what kind of topic that American judges would prefer. And yeah, we're going to start right away with the introduction as usual. And first of all, what is original oratory actually is? So original oratory is a part of speech events in America, and in original oratory, students deliver a self-written 10-minute speech on a topic of their choosing. So the topic is actually up to you. It's free for you to choose about the topic, but in order to make sure that your topic is actually good, I will also talk about it later on the slide. And competitors should craft an argument using evidence, logic, and emotional appeal. Topics range widely and can be informative or persuasive in nature. So it is okay if you want to entertain the audience, like it's totally fine, but you also need to understand and remember that the purpose of original oratory is to be informative and persuasive. Okay, so let's go to the basic original oratory rules. First of all, the purpose. As I mentioned before, the general rule, the general purpose of the speech is to persuade. You need to persuade the audience and the judge in particular in online competitions, especially. And to persuade basically means that you need to make people believe in what you say, to make what you're saying is believable, understandable, and lure those people to trust you, okay? And any other purpose, such as to inform or to entertain, shall be secondary, all right? So like I already said before, it's okay if you want to entertain them, but be persuasive and be informative at first. Second of all, the contest itself. So the contest is going to comprise only memorized orations. So if you already made a speech, please memorize it. But if you don't, or if you haven't made any speeches, so you can try to write it from now on. And yeah, it has to be remembered, it has to be memorized word per word. And just try to make sure that everything is already complete when you're about to perform in front of the judge. And it has to be composed by the contestants, original. That's why it's called original oratory, because it has to be original, created by the contestants. No visual aids are permitted. It's really different from storytelling competition. In storytelling competition, sometimes it's okay for us to use visual aids, be it like books or costumes or whatever. But in original oratory, please dress well, like just pretend that you're an important person, and then dress well like a president or a member of the parliament, for example. I think that is how you should ideally dress. Just make yourself look neat in front of the judge. And thirdly, the subject. Any appropriate subject must be used, but the orator must be truthful. Any non-factual reference, especially a personal one, must be so identified. So it's actually a little bit okay to use a personal reference, but don't make your personal reference as a fact or as a basis to judge something. So if you wanted to make it as an example, just to tell people that you experienced this, it's fine, but don't make it as a sole parameter in informing something or in informing the judges regarding that. And next, the fourth is the length. So the time limit in original oratory is 10 minutes with a 30-second grace period. That is to say that if you spoke for like 10 minutes and 20 seconds, for example, it's okay. But if you spoke more than 10 minutes and 29 seconds, you will be penalized. And the penalty is in the form of the judges not going to give you the first position in the chamber. So if there are multiple judges in the round, all must agree that the student has gone beyond the grace period. Should a student go beyond the grace period, the student may not be ranked first. There is no other prescribed penalty for going over the grace period. The ranking is up to each individual judge's discretion, and judges who choose to time are to use accurate stopwatch function timing devices. And in the new manual, actually no minimum time is mandated, but regularly people would speak at least 7 minutes. So try to make sure that at the very least you can perform for like 7 to 8 minutes, even though no minimum time is mandated right now. But I think it would be best if you could speak at least 7 minutes, because it means it basically means that there are more informations that you can give to the judges, and you can be much more persuasive with more materials being given. Okay, and next, the fifth one is regarding quotation. So not more than 150 words of the oration may be direct quotation from any other speech or writing, and such quotations must be identified in a printed copy of the oration supplied prior to registration. The fifth and sixth part of this basic rules is actually for the NSDA America, like the district selection and competition. So this is just to prepare you for something that is much more serious. But on the upcoming tournament, you don't really need to follow something that is so rigid just like this. Just make sure that your speech is original, and that is it. You don't have to make a printed copy. You don't have to make quotations just yet, because the judges and the committee are not going to ask for your written speeches anyway. But I think in order to prepare you for a much more serious competition in the upcoming future, I think it's fine for you to understand regarding the quotation and the script, to make sure that you are going to cite a page in APA or MLA format. Yeah, this is usually in NSDA, US, district, and even national competition. So I think that it's okay for us to skip this, but maybe you can put this in mind. And lastly, regarding reuse, a student may not use an oration the student used in district or national competition in any previous contest year. So if you have used some speech, you are not supposed to use the exact same speech again. But then again, this is like the rule for the national and district competition in the US. This is just to give you guys little notice regarding what happened in there. So it just in case that maybe there will be a competition that would require you to, put your script in there, just to make sure that you are not going to use the same script twice. All right. Next. So next we are going to talk about the procedure. The guaranteed preliminary round is the first thing that we're going to talk about in here. So what are preliminary rounds? Preliminary rounds is basically what few rounds that you're going to get through before getting into elimination round. And it is mandated, it is obligatory for you to follow all of the preliminary rounds, because if you miss just one round, then one of your score, basically you lost like one score, and that can be fatal in calculating your final score in the end of the competition, and you're most likely not going to proceed to the elimination round. So it would be best for everyone to follow all of the preliminary rounds, because the purpose is to gather and accumulate your points. These points are in form of ranks. So like I wrote in there, this is where students will be given the chance to perform few times, depends on how many prelim for the from the host, and usually there will be 4 to 6 preliminary rounds. Second of all, regarding ranks, because we have talked about this before, there will be around 6 to 7 competitors, usually in each chamber and tap room, the account that I have made for you guys. yesterday will assign the speech order automatically. And after each round, judge will assign the rank from the first to last. So for example, if there are like 6 students in the room, then they will make the rank from the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. And if a competitor gets a first, it means that they were the best performing speaker in the chamber and vice versa. So if you got 6 or 7, it means that you did not really perform well compared to another competitor in the chamber. And third of all is the elimination round. Competitors with the most first will most likely proceed to the elimination round. So this is what I said regarding accumulating points. The more you get a first, then you have higher probability to compete in the elimination round. And fourth, about the judge. Judges will not disclose the rank on preliminary round, like after it directly. Rank will appear on the contestants and coach taproom account before the next round. And feedback and reasoning regarding why you deserve the ranking that you just got will be written on the taproom account as well. So that is about the procedure. Now we can talk about the topics. Now talking about topics, first of all, topics are free as long as it's not sensitive or offensive. I think we can all understand what topics are offensive and sensitive. It's something that is really, really hard to talk about, and if people hear about it, they will raise their eyebrow. You know what I mean, right? And a topic can be related to your personal experience and intertwine it with serious social issue that you see every day. So just like what the previous slide that I already shown before, the thing is that don't use your personal experience as a parameter of something, but you can use it as a form of example, right? So few things that you can do in order to find a good topic. Try to ask yourself several questions that may lead to good suggestions. Typical questions often include the following. Number 1, what are my hobbies or special talents? What careers interest me? It can be something that is so close with your heart, so close with what you want, and it's totally okay to explore the topic from this kind of question. Second of all, you can ask yourself again, what are some interesting things that I have done or interesting places that I have visited? Thirdly, what books or newspaper and magazine articles have I enjoyed reading recently? Fourth, what famous people do I admire? And fifth, about what have I always been curious about? So it can be these basic questions where you will discover the topic, okay? And then circle the topics that you know more about and feel comfortable with. So the purpose of those questions is to ask yourself, am I actually capable of talking about this topic? So if you think that you can answer one of the questions better compared to the other, then maybe that one particular question can lead you into a topic that you can talk about in your original oratory speech. And then you can ask yourself again, what would be interesting to a general audience? And that's basically it. That's how you can try to find your own topic. Now, let's talk about the speech structure. After you find the topic that you think is suitable for you, then it's time to structurize your speech. First of all is the introduction. Usually an introduction would last for about 2 minutes, and here are what introductions should consist of. Firstly, attention grabber story, illustration, quote, humor, or questions. If you see a lot of like NSDA original oratory winner, they would usually start with this stuff. Second, you can link the attention grabber to the rest of your speech. Third, background, why is this important? Why should we care? Ask those questions when you're writing your speech. Fourth, the significance. cite an authority to support your thesis. So after you find an attention grabber and then you explain the importance of that issue, why we should actually put more attention and care about that issue, then you can cite a journal or someone that is believable, like scientists or famous politicians, whoever it is, to support your claim, to support your thesis. And then next, this is state a precise, concise thesis. It means that you need to explain a complete argumentation as to why you are actually talking about this issue. All right. And then roadmap, tell the audience where you're going to go with this thesis, with this issue in particular. Second, the problem. So after you already gave the background as to what you actually wanted to talk about, then we can go to the main problem, right? So in the problem part, explain the problem, of course, obviously. Focus on how, where, and or why, and then support your claims with number one, facts, cite experts, anecdotes. It can be very important to use humor if possible. Try to connect with your audience so that they can identify with your problem, and clincher. So drive your point home, which is your basic thesis that you already talked previously. Like connect it with that again so people can still recall regarding what you actually wanted to talk about, right? Just to make sure that the audience don't forget. The third one is effect. So this is actually pretty simple, but can be very, very tricky. And in effects part, there are two things that you need to put attention to. First of all, explain how the problem negatively impacts the society. And secondly, support your claims. Just like before, always cite a reference, a valid reference. So in explaining how the problem negatively impacts the society, of course, this has to give, you have to give a degree of severeness, you have to give a degree of urgency. Why then this is something that is very, very dire to do? Why is the status quo is so problematic, right? So put some emphasis regarding the negative part that is currently happening in society. And then fourth, after explaining the impact, the magnitude of the negative condition that is currently happening in the society, in the status quo, then you can offer a solution in your speech. And in solutions, you need to take a look at it very carefully as well. Because first of all, you need to be careful with your solutions because some, if not many, will not agree with you. Second of all, be more serious in this section. Use a serious tone. So if previously you already used humor, you already tried to entertain the audience, the judges, when we're talking about solution, it means that we're trying to find a solvency regarding a problem. Because in the previous part, on the effect part, we already talked about the negative impact that is currently happening in the society. So it's only ideal for you to be serious in trying to find a solvency regarding that issue. Try to not be humorous, try to be more serious, of course. Third of all, don't be too specific on solution, but don't be vague either. Like, try to find a solution that sounds believable, but you don't have to be specific, like in numbers. Just what you think inside your head is something that is possible to be done, something that is achievable by the common society. Fourth is, if applicable, give institutional and personal solution. That's basically just what I said before. And lastly, be reasonable, be realistic, be inspirational. So even if you want to give a personal solution, and this also includes in the institutional solution as well, actually, make sure that the solution is reasonable and achievable, just like what I already said before. Next is the conclusion. So after talking about the background, etc. And then we finally come into the last part of the speech, and that is conclusion. So after you gave the solution, let's go to the conclusion. All right, the summary. Okay, so give a transition. Link back to your attention grabber is the best method to come into the conclusion. Second, roadmap. Review what you told to the audience. Third, talk heart to heart. Inspire your audience. Talk about something that is inspirational. Okay, and lastly, creative clincher. Use a full circle ending and connect back to your attention grabber. So your attention grabber, it can be like the superstar in this competition, because it is a method that is being used by a lot of original oratory speaker. And attention grabber can come from your personal experience, it can come from a funny experience, from what you have observed, whatever it is. If you think that it is a potential attention grabber and it is highly connected with the message that you want to deliver to your audience and to your judges, then go ahead with it. Okay. So in conclusion, 1, students must prepare their own 10 minutes long speech. The speech must be original, persuasive, and informative. Do not forget the citations if there are any. Second of all, do not speak longer than 10 minutes and 30 seconds, or else the student will not get the first decision. So time management is very, very important. Third, speech must be memorized. Do not read from a paper, because if you read from a paper, usually the judge, original oratory judge, not only speech judge, but even including debate judge, those judges are very well experienced. They can decipher the diction and the style of students who are reading and those who are actually speaking. And fourth, it's okay to entertain the judge and audience, but the main goal of original oratory is to persuade. So make sure that your speech mostly consists of persuasion. Fifth, the theme or topic is free as long as it's not sensitive or offensive. And sixth, use a clear structure that I already explained beforehand. So I think that is all from me, everyone. Thank you so much for your attention, and I really hope that this video is going to help you. Thank you very much.